Hi, everyone. We're live. How is everyone tonight? I'm here with Dawn. Welcome, Dawn.
Hi, guys.
Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
And Valerie's here. Hi, Valerie. And Maggie and Myra. We have our first three side chatters on this channel. This is so exciting. And this is Jenna. Hi, Jenna. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming and supporting this new channel, Jenna. I really appreciate it. Yes, it's a premiere show without the premiere. Dee's here.
Hey, Dee.
Hey, Dee. Great to see you guys. The reason I wanted to start this channel is because I feel like there are a lot of topics for discussion that we can do that pertain to coming out later in life. And I went ahead and put it at 30 and older. If you think 25 and older is later in life, that's fine. I just set the number for 30. So I'm going to be having interviews periodically on this channel. And so if you would like to be interviewed, if you're watching later and want to be interviewed, you can just comment below. And I'm going to also be taking email requests at comingoutLate@yahoo.com. So, and I also started an Instagram channel, and that is coming_out_late. So those are the ways you can message me if you want to be interviewed in the future or want to be on a panel. And I want to have discussions about things like family, children, addiction, just things like that we've all been through, not all of us, but some of us, just things that we can toss around and just discuss with people who understand, right? I want this to be a really safe place. And so I have moderators in the chat right now, and they're watching carefully. So appreciate you, Maggie and Valerie, for moderating. So don't see anyone new coming in right now. You just found the Instagram. Thank you very much. She just put that out there. Thank you. So yeah, I'm excited. We have 6 people here. Woo! Thank you for being brave, Dawn, and coming on the first interview.
Hey.
And I hope you come back for more panel discussions and things like that, because I know you can contribute a lot in the side chat. So for the folks in the chat and watching at a later time, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like now, what you're doing right now?
So what I'm doing right now is doing some reselling. I've been reselling for probably, I want to say close to 20 years, on and off. But now I'm getting into it a little more, and eventually I'll be going full time probably before the end of the year. So I sell on eBay. We have an Etsy store. We have a website. We do a booth, a local antique booth, and Facebook Marketplace, stuff like that, some local things. So mostly what I sell is vintage electronics and hard goods. I don't do a lot of clothing.
And where do you live?
I live in Michigan. So here's the map of Michigan.
All people in Michigan do that.
Yeah, it's only people in Michigan who do that. But basically, I live in Berrien County, which is just kind of north of the Michigan state line, down by, Indiana's down here. So,
yeah, I can't do that with Texas. I can't make a map of Texas with my hands. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 59, so I'll be 60 in December.
Yep. All right, so you're about a year and a half older than I am. I'm 58, just in February. So, 2 hours south of Dee said.
Yeah, 2 hours south of.
So do you ever get together with her?
We've connected a few times. She had a garage sale last year, and we've gone and kind of stopped in and seen each other when I go to see my mom, because my mom lives in Muskegon right now, but she will be moving this way.
That is great.
A couple of health issues taken care of.
Well, I'm hoping to make it up to Michigan, not this year, next year, and I'm hoping I get to see her along the way. So
You should.
Yeah, I know she does. Valerie said you look so young, Dawn.
It's a
And
childlike
not
quality,
that
not
and
childish, childlike. Remember that.
and it's not that 60's old. It's you meant to say
Yeah,
you look younger, right?
young. Yeah,
Younger.
yeah. I've been told that before. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Still having trouble with the headsets here.
Oh no, you're gonna have to
Okay.
do it through your.
So do you want to go ahead? I'm going to put you on full screen and you can just start back from the far back as you want to go. And I'm probably going to mute myself because I need to fix these headphones. So I'm going to let you take it away.
Here I am, large and in charge. Okay, so I was brought up pretty much on the west coast of Michigan. So we started out in Muskegon area, moved to Grand Haven, went through high school there. All along, I was more of a tomboyish kind of child. And then went to high school and went to college there. Didn't really have any relationships. Met my soon-to-be husband at that time when we moved in, or when I moved back to Grand Haven and lived there with my mother and my grandmother because my grandmother was ill. So spent some time there, got married to a man and spent about 15 years with him. We moved up to the Hart, Shelby area, had a video store, bought a house, renovated it. His parents then got sick, so we moved back to Grand Haven area. And then we moved to Holland, where I got a job in retail. At that point, all through that, I had been kind of understanding that I was kind of attracted to women, but not pursuing it. And after a while, and my husband was aware of that as well, but after a while, it just became something that I couldn't ignore anymore. So we decided to have an amicable break, and we got a divorce. And I got into my first coming out relationship was with a friend of a coworker. And that lasted for about 5 years. We moved to the area I'm in now, which is Berrien County, which is St. Joe, Benton Harbor area. We split up. And then I met the love of my life at that point, which is my current wife, Mary. We've been together 20 years. We've been married about 4 years now since it became legal. So that's where we're at right there. So I came out in my mid to late 30s ish. It was kind of like a slow awakening or a slow realization that I couldn't pretend that it wasn't bothering me anymore. So that's pretty much where you find me today. Mary and I have been married for 4 years. I met her at my current employer. She was also working there, introduced by a mutual friend.
That's awesome. So all through like elementary, middle school, high school, did you have any kind of inkling that something, maybe not that you were gay, but that something was different about you
from
other people?
Yeah, of course, you hear that a lot, right? You hear that, oh, I always felt a little different. And I always felt a little different, sure. And I didn't really understand why girls are so boy crazy, of course. And I didn't have, and I got along better with the boys than I did the girls, which just, that happens sometimes too. So I wasn't really a girly girl. I wasn't, I didn't play Barbie dolls and stuff. I played with trucks and I played with, guy stuff. And I don't identify as male in any way. It's just kind of where my emotional center is as far as, the type of things I like and enjoy. So, that's why I deal more with hard goods and with clothes, I guess, although I know a lot of men who sell clothes, but it's never been an interest of mine. I like to tinker. I like to take things apart. I like to see how things work. More of an engineer mentality, I guess. So, I've always been a little different than the other girls in the neighborhood for sure.
Mm-hmm. Did you date during high school a lot?
No.
Boys?
No. Not at all.
No.
I mean, there were a few crushes when I was in grade school on boys, and mostly it was like, theater majors or whatever, and junior high. But no, not really. When I met my husband, it was more of a him pursue me thing.
Mhm.
So, and he's a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, I get along with him great, and that's probably why it lasted so long, and our relationship kind of held together even after the divorce. We were still friends. He got married again after after our divorce, and he had me be his best man, which I thought was funny as heck. So I stood up for him at his wedding, his second wedding. So we parted friends, which was very nice, and we didn't have any children, so that kind of took that complication out of it for
That's
us.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, my ex and I, we get along. We kind of just tolerate one another. There's no, I mean, we can be in together in a room, no problem. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we sat in the waiting room when my grandchild was being born, no problem.
Good.
You know, um, so yeah, because there's definitely a difference between a crush and more than that. Because to me, a crush, you don't get those butterflies like you get,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you ever have like feelings like I had feelings for teachers? I don't know.
Not for teachers, maybe. Hey, thank you for confessing that. Not for teachers, but for a couple of other female students.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So and at that point, I did come from a religious upbringing. I didn't have that stigma of you're going to hell kind of thing. There, I did. My great grandmother and my grandmother raised me. My mother was close, but she wasn't in the same household. Um,
Mhm.
we're so my grandmother was a bookkeeper. She's now an account. She was a bookkeeper. She didn't go full blown accountant. And my great grandmother was a school teacher in her
Oh,
younger
wow.
days. She was very proper. She was very English. So there's societal propriety that you don't broach.
Mhm.
So talking about girls and girls together and boys together was not a thing. It was not a thing. And of course,
Mhm.
it's not on TV and it's not really anywhere that's obvious. You can see, you'd watch. So I'm going on 60, I'm going to be 60. So you're watching what? Hollywood Squares and Paul Lynde is kind of
Right.
weird and, but funny.
Mhm.
And, you can see Flip Wilson dress up in drag and yeah, stuff like that. But it was more for comedy effect. There was an overt sexuality about it. And so, but there wasn't a lot of, it wasn't talked about. It wasn't anything. I remember my aunt telling me, because I was kind of crushing on this girl, so we were friends for a while in junior high school, and she said, "People are going to think people are going to think you're weird." That was the closest she could get to saying that. Somebody's going to think you're a lesbian if you
Mhm.
continue this relationship with this girl. So
Mhm. Yeah, the ones that come to mind for me, other than Paul Lynde, would be Charles Nelson Riley
there you go,
and Liberace.
Liberace
So
for
he
sure.
was the big one.
Yeah,
Like,
and then
it
I
was
watch
like
a lot of that.
nobody would just come out and say it.
Yeah.
All these old ladies are following him like he's, you know,
Oh yes, Liberace. Good, good. Yeah.
and they're not, you know, I don't know. So would you say you grew up in some prejudice in your household?
It was
Just
just
kinda
not.
underlying?
Yeah, I mean, it was not spoken. It wasn't talked about. There was no. I didn't have any gay uncles, kind of thing, or
Mhm,
uncles or aunts that lived with friends,
mhm,
or whatever. There wasn't any exposure to it
mhm,
that I can remember at all. Now I remember when I was in high school, a friend of mine lived with her mother and her mother's friend.
mhm,
And I visited one time and I'm like, oh, the light bulb goes on.
mhm,
It's not necessarily like these two were probably a couple, but there was an instant sense of very comfortableness for me. I was really comfortable in that house. I really wanted to, like live there
mhm,
because it was just,
mhm,
oh, okay, I get it. It felt right, which is kind of a weird way to
mhm.
put it, but it felt right.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one grandfather who just wouldn't be caught dead friends with anybody who was gay. I mean, I just know he would, because he used
Mhm.
derogatory words
Oh, yeah.
towards people. My other grandparents, though, they invited this male couple over every Christmas Eve. They came
Mhm.
over, and they always brought me plushies, and um, but then, and they were really sweet to this couple. But there was a woman waitress that always waited on us at this one restaurant.
Mhm.
And my grandmother told me, she said, "Don't talk to her. She's a lessie." And I'm like, "What the hell is a lessie?"
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
even remember trying, because I was a dictionary person. Like, I read the dictionary all the time when I was a kid. And I was trying to figure out what the heck is a lessie. And,
It wasn't in the
and
dictionary,
I
was
did,
it?
and no, it was not in the dictionary. And I
This is
just did, I was like in fourth grade or something, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then years later, when I knew what it was, I'm like, well, why were they inviting these men to their house, full well knowing that they were together? But
Mhm.
this woman, they did not want me to even talk to her because she was, a lesbian, and I never did get that.
Yeah.
So let me, when you came out,
Mhm.
who did you tell first?
Ooh. So I pretty much talked with my husband about it first. I mean, because this happened, while I was still married. Um, we had a lot of discussions, a lot of, crying, and because I still love the guy. He's a great guy, and I made the promise that I was going to live with him and, till death do you part kind of thing. And we just, there was a lot of discussion between him and I, a lot of, it took a while for both of us to come to the realization that it probably wasn't best to stay together because we just end up resenting each other. So we, at that point, decided to split it. Now, we didn't tell anybody else before that. And so he was the first person, obviously. At that time when we decided to split up and I was going to move out, then I told my mother. And of course, you know how mothers are. They're like, yeah, duh. She kind of figured it out way before I did. But she was really cool about it. Um, which I'm lucky because a lot of mothers aren't, especially if you're so invested in a life that, a heterosexual quote unquote life that you're married. Like I said, I didn't have kids, so that was the one saving grace of that. To deal to that have the children have to deal with that and then have to deal with splitting up and all that. Um, but then my mother, and then my brother, and after that, um, my family. Actually, my mother told my family, which kind of pissed me off because I really wanted to do it.
Yeah, I
I'm like,
didn't.
I want to come out to the. Oh, okay. I won't tell anybody. Lie. The woman lies. She couldn't keep a secret. So, but I
And
was
they
going
all
to.
knew, and they all knew earlier, right?
Oh, they're all like, well, you did always kind of like to play with cars and not dolls, and then, they at that point, I guess they can do the reverse math and figure it out. But um, that's not true. I mean, I know a lot of heterosexual women who just like cars and trucks and toys.
Well, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what
That's a
they're into.
stereotype on their
Yeah,
part.
it's really stereotyped.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then there's this slow progression of some of the aunts and uncles who were kind of like, well, how's this work? And I had my aunt one time when Mary and I were over for a family gathering, and she likes to drink a little bit. At that time, she asked me. Hopefully, she doesn't watch this, and she's like, I don't think. She had a few drinks, and she said, "So, which one of you two is the man?"
Oh God.
Which we both looked at each other. And, it's this. The point is, neither one of us are the man. That's the point. So, neither one. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that's one of the thing that I think my family. I mean, I may be putting words in their mouth, but and I think a lot of people do. That's all they think about. They only that's the only thing they think about is the bedroom for us. They don't think
Yeah.
about anything else,
Oh,
and
yes.
so how did your brother react? I mean,
My
are they
brother's very.
accepting? Are they accepting?
Yeah, my
What
brother's very accepting. I mean,
mhm.
he was friends with my husband as well, so it was kind of a little traumatic for him.
Mhm.
Because there's that whole bro thing
Mhm.
going on. But he's very accepting. He loves me. I mean, he knows that I'm happier now than I was before. And I, like I said, there was nothing wrong with our marriage except the fact that I, wasn't happy being
Mhm.
with a man. So, but he was a great guy. So my brother was very cool about it, and he said, as long as you guys are splitting up and being amicable, and your husband's still friends with you, I can still be friends with him, and that's fine. So I'm glad you're happy.
Mhm.
So
That's awesome. Sounds like you have a lot of
I was
support.
I was lucky. I mean, I
Mhm.
was lucky. Of course,
Mhm.
I'm not dealing with my great grandmother and my grandmother. They've long since been gone.
Mhm.
But I'd like to think that they, realize that I'm happy in this situation
Mhm.
and be proud of me.
Yeah. I'm sure they would just want your happiness, more than
Yeah.
anything. I know that my grandmothers were the first to, I wouldn't say accept me, but
Mhm.
they loved me no matter what, even though they didn't understand it. And, they both told me that we just don't understand it, but,
Yeah.
you're you're my granddaughter and I'm going to love you no
Hmm.
matter what,
Yeah.
because they didn't have that much longer to live, so they knew what was more important, you know,
Yeah.
having a relationship with me, than Myra said there is an African American transgender protester whose bond has been paid being held illegally in the Duval County Jail with the male inmates.
Ugh.
Interesting. Yeah,
Ugh.
I would like to also get some transgender interviews. If anybody knows anyone who would be
Mhm.
willing to come on here, and they don't even actually have to show their face, they can just have their voice on. If
Yeah.
that's anybody is concerned about that,
Yeah.
they can have a different name, just set up a different Google account, and they
I
can
was gonna
feel
say,
absolutely
put your
safe
face
here
back
and
up here
accepted.
so people can see you're talking
Okay,
to you.
okay.
You're talking to a
So,
disembodied voice. There you
all
go.
right,
Well, yeah,
okay,
because different people are in different parts of their journey, and some people don't feel very comfortable being
right.
public like this about it.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who's at church, and we have a very accepting community in our church, and we
Mhm.
actually have an LGBTQ plus group,
Yeah.
but he's only out at church, like he's not out to his job, for
Mhm.
instance, and so he's still, and he's probably in his late 50s. He's just not there yet,
Yeah.
and so it just depends on the person and what they've been going through. So I'm glad that you have
Mhm.
support. So how, I may not want to speak for your wife, but how was her family
Oh,
feeling about all this?
totally the opposite.
Oh, really?
Well, okay, she was in a relationship also with a man prior to her and I
Uh-huh.
becoming a couple. And I guess her mother was very vested in that relationship. Um,
Mhm.
so when Mary said, "Okay, I'm in love with Dawn, and I'm leaving, my boyfriend, and we're gonna, go live together, and we're gonna get married when we can,"
Mhm.
basically, her mother was like, "Whoa, wait a minute. What? Where did this come from?" That kind of thing, because she really hadn't been questioning. I mean, she's always been an open-minded person, and she's always been supportive and an ally, but she was never in a situation where she had fallen in love with a woman before.
Mhm.
So that was news to her mother and her brother. And I think the first person who was more accepting than anybody was her niece, which was her brother's daughter. She was very accepting pretty much right out of the gate, at least to our faces. So I'm assuming she was.
Mhm.
Um, and then her mother, about the time we got married, so about 4 years ago, when her mother saw that we were really committed and it wasn't just a phase or whatever, I don't know. Um, her mother showed up for the wedding, and so did her brother. So that was kind of a major deal. to have them there. And she's been pretty accepting
Mhm.
all along ever since, in her own way, because she's more, comes from a more religious background. So,
Mhm.
Dutch Calvinistic kind of background. Um,
Mhm.
so it's a little tougher when you have to process
Yeah.
it through those filters.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that's the other thing. I mean, some people think it's not genetic, or that. Well, let me go back and say that it is genetic, but that there are also cases where it's not. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure if Mary falls into that. I have a friend who I'm hoping will come and be interviewed because she was in a marriage for years. She was
Hmm.
madly in love with her husband. Um, and she's now with a woman, and
Hmm.
she, it's just kind of like she's like in her 40s, and this is like her first relationship, and I'm hoping she'll come in. I'm not sure with her that it is genetic. Like, she seems to love the person
Hmm.
um that she
Yeah.
met,
Yeah.
and maybe it is, but I think there are times when it might not be. And especially right now for the younger crowd, I can think of one person right now who's very young, who I feel is kind of like just rebelling against everything. Just look what I'm doing. You know, I'm in this relationship and you don't like it. Look what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And I don't know. I just kind of question that too. I'm like,
Well, yeah. I mean,
just being, you
there's a
know,
lot of different uh, probabilities. I mean, people are different. There's an infinite amount of diversity in the universe, right? So all
right. And
people are different. They can't lock down specifics on why people are the way they are in anything. Why one person likes to go golfing while the other person likes to sit and fish.
mhm,
So part of it's nature, part of it's nurture. I think it's going to be hard to say strictly genetics. That's why people are gay
mhm,
or
mhm,
bisexual or transgendered or whatever. I think
mhm,
there's a lot in the mix. It's a big soup pot, and to try to nail it down to one ingredient is really tough. So for Mary, she believes, we both kind of believe that sexuality is on a spectrum, right? And your
mhm,
sexual
mhm.
identity is different than your sexual preference. So there's
Right.
that. But people have to grasp that too. There's all these different
Of
terms.
course.
But yeah. So she feels she was never really attracted to women prior to meeting me. She fell in love with a person.
Mhm.
She may be bisexual. You could classify her as that. You know, um,
But who cares?
yeah, I was gonna
She's
say it's
with
a
you
label.
now. That's all that
Here we
matters.
go. Here we go with those labels
Yeah,
again.
that's all that matters. So, yeah, so I'm just really so how has this like changed? I don't know how to explain this question, but like how are you different now that you're out um than when you weren't out? Like for me, my bosses know
Hmm.
um before they didn't. I mean, I made all my friends know. I lost all my friends, by the way, when I came out, all
Mm,
of them but one.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, is life different for you, or just pretty much the same? Or
Um, when I was
if
married,
after you came out, like,
go ahead.
well, like I can be myself now. And
Yeah.
did you ever feel like back then that you weren't really to the world?
Yeah.
You weren't yourself, like you
Yeah,
were.
that was part of the whole not really being happy.
Uh,
Um, because there wasn't anybody particular that I was attracted to or whatever, but I just felt it was like I was always acting or pretending to be something that I wasn't.
mhm,
So it kind of colored my entire day and my entire life at that time. Sometimes to different degrees, of course. You get busy trying to get something finished or do something or work a job, and it's not in the front of your brain, but a lot of times it was. The times when you're alone together or whatever, it can creep in on weird things. But yeah, I couldn't be myself. I didn't feel
mhm,
like I could really be myself. I had to pretend or pass or whatever you'd want to call it. So now I can.
yeah.
And when I came out, I moved to, a totally new place, a new town. I, of
Oh,
course,
that's
lost
nice.
his entire family. And I mean, we were together 15 years. So I made deep friendships with a lot of his family, his cousins. When we'd go to their cottage on the lake, and we'd all hang out together, and just all every summer, and it was just a total family, acceptance thing. And then that was all gone. I lost
Mhm,
all of that.
mhm,
I lost any friends we had, except for like my brother and a few of the people that were mutual acquaintances because of, being my brother. Those people were like, eh. And I moved, so I just moved out of town. It wasn't because of that, but it happened as a product of that. And I made new friends. I made a new life where I could be myself. So
mhm.
yeah, it
That
really,
that's
it
what
was,
I did. I was in the country at that time, so I moved to the city because that's where she
yeah.
lived, and so it was a product of that, but it did help me kinda move on. I just remember in college, like, I would go to, like, a meeting or something at college, a dinner,
Mhm.
and then people were gonna go do something afterwards, and they're like, "Come and hang out with us," and I'm like, "No, no, I gotta go home," you know, and I couldn't say, because my girlfriend is at home alone waiting for me, it's
Mhm.
like, "Why do you have to go home? You just have a roommate, like, you don't why do you have to go home?" And I just there was no way I could tell them, like, "She's my life, like,
Yeah.
I don't want her to sit at home alone when I'm out partying with you guys, I wanna be home with her," but I remember how torn I was because I did wanna go with them, but then we were so isolated. We had just put ourselves in this little box
Right.
that we didn't have any friends outside. We had our blinds drawn all the time, and, it was a hell of a way to live.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about like, I went to, like, the number 1 party college in Texas, and I never
You
partied
couldn't party.
because I couldn't, and everybody's like, "Yeah, you partied. We know you partied. Everybody partied." I said, "No, I didn't,"
Not really.
because I felt guilty going out with these people when she was home alone. I just wanted to be with her, so I couldn't bring her because everybody would figure it out. I mean, you could
Yeah.
actually get kicked out of school back then,
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean, we moved out of the dorm, like, immediately once we were able to because we just knew somebody was gonna find out. We were gonna get kicked out
Mhm.
of school, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So, it's definitely
It
changed
happens.
my life to come out.
When
Yeah,
Mary was in
I
school, there was a couple of girls that were kicked out of school for that.
yeah, yeah,
Not
you'll
that she knew, but
and that's again, going back to this generation, I don't think they understand, they can come out at school and nobody's gonna kick them out of school, it's like it was really scary, and when I
yeah.
found out I started counting the people in my, just in my graduating class alone of high school, how many came out as gay, bi,
Mhm.
lesbian, trans. It was amazing, and some of these were my
Yeah.
closest friends, and I never knew, but I thought, "Oh, that makes sense, that makes sense,"
Yeah.
but I'm
Well, you
thinking
can
if
reverse
we
math,
would have
right?
all known, if we would have all told each other and all, stuck together, then
Mhm.
maybe we would have been able to get through our 20s without hurting so many people and being hurt and all the crap that we put ourselves through. I just I there the number we had 270 in our graduating class, and I can already bet just off the top of my head that I can name 20.
Yeah.
That's just of people that I associate with on a daily basis. I mean, it's just incredible. Um,
Wow. That is
and so yeah, so I want to at this time I want to open the side chat up for questions, Dawn. If anyone has a comment or a question for Dawn, now's the time to ask her anything about her life, her journey, and I'm so happy to get to talk to you one on one because I've always been curious about your story. I'm the nosy person, right? Like I always want to know. I don't know. I just want to know.
that's okay. I don't mind. I'm an open book. Go ahead.
you know, and everybody's story is so different. Whether you're
Yeah.
heterosexual or homosexual, it doesn't matter. It's just everybody's story is different, so I love to learn about people anyway. So anybody got any questions to throw out to Dawn or comments about anything that she or I have talked about so far? So we're going into like 35 minutes here, so I probably won't make it to the hour, Dawn.
That's okay.
But,
Yeah.
I never said this was going to be an hour show.
No, that's okay. If
But
there's interest,
while we're waiting for questions, I do want to thank everyone who is in the chat right now, because every one of these people there's someone that I know, and they're from the reselling community, and I'm just thankful that y'all are here to help me kind of get this thing boosted, and because I can take this video and put hashtags and start getting people that I don't know personally involved in the channel, and that's what I want to do. And it may be twice a month I do this. It may be once a week. I just have to kind of feel it out and see, how much the need is there. But the problem was it was being talked about so much on my reselling channel. And I was like, okay, this needs its own place where we can just let loose and talk. So I see that Valerie has a question. Okay. So let me go ahead and do her first.
Oh, okay.
So I have to do it this way. Okay. So do you have any Benelux in your family tree? I have distant cousins in Grand Haven.
Not that I'm aware of. My family was Smiths. Sorry. And let's see. Well, we came from Muskegon, but my great grandmother her family came from Canada through Port Huron. So no, actually we didn't have any family in Grand Haven. So nope.
So you have Canadian roots, eh?
Oh yeah, but I think I did a one of those 21andMe things or whatever, and my father and mother's family walked hand in hand through Europe, across to Canada, and down into Michigan. There was no variation. I'm the whitest girl you're ever going to meet. It's okay. Sad. I really wanted a little spice in there, something, but it's mostly German and English, and it's European.
Well, I still have family in Canada. I come from the Bierwagens. It's Bierwagen. We call it beer wagon. Yeah. But when we got here, we shortened it to Bergen.
There you go.
So any Bergens up there in Ontario may have started out as Bierwagens.
There you go.
Okay. So Myra has a question. Do you or your wife have children? What lifestyle choices did they make?
So no children from either Mary or myself. We were both, my husband and I made a conscious choice not to have kids because we were working on a couple businesses and we just didn't have time. And by the time, I came out, it wasn't a thing. And Mary had never been married. And so being a good Christian girl, she never had any kids. But she actually probably was making that conscious choice as well. So no, we didn't have any children. We have 4 or 5 fuzzy children with, cats and dogs, but no children. And what lifestyle choices the cats and dogs make, it's totally up to them, and I'll respect them and support them in any way I can.
So what animals do you have in your house? And what are their names?
So our history with pets is long and distinguished because when we first moved into this area, we joined a group called Animal Aid, and it's an animal fostering company or nonprofit that does home fostering. So we took in a bunch of cats. So at one time we had a lot of cats, but we are down to 3 cats now and 1 dog, and all of them are rescues. We have Wesley, who came from a litter about 12 years ago of cats that were named after Buffy the Vampire Slayer characters, and Wesley is the only one that's still with us. The other ones got adopted. We have Widget, which is a rescue from a local mall. We were driving through to go to a Planet Fitness, and this little kitten went pew, and so we had to pull over and stop and save it. And then we have Trevor, who is a female cat that was named Trevor because the other 3 or 4 animals that showed up at our doorstep, which this one did, I named Trevor and everybody, they always found their homes. Somebody either found them, we put ads in the paper, they'd come and get them. So it was a joke. So I named this one Trevor. Unfortunately, this one, nobody came and found it. So, and then Willow is the dog. She's a Shih Tzu. We found her in front of our garage the week after we came back from our honeymoon. And we had just lost our dog, Missy, before that, who has her own Facebook page, Missy the Weather Dog, still out there. And she's a Shih Tzu, and we did everything we could to find a home for her, and nobody claimed her. So now we have a Shih Tzu, which we're not really
Where did you,
we're not little dog people, but this little dog is now part of our lives.
where did you go on your honeymoon?
We went up north. We went up to all the way up to the Copper Harbor area in the UP, and we stayed with some friends of ours from here who had moved up there because they originally were from there, and we stayed in their cabin on Lake Superior, and it was wonderful and quiet. There's no phone, no internet. It was amazing. We drove up there in our toaster, which is a Zion XB 2006 silver box. We drove all the way up there, took a bunch of back roads, came all the way back, and the car died in Shelby, Michigan. So thank goodness I knew Shelby, Michigan, so I knew who to call because I used to live there when I was married. And we had a towed back to Muskegon. So that was the end of our honeymoon, was getting towed back with, Bubba, the tow truck driver. And
Valerie knows about tow truck drivers. She had to
Right.
have her truck towed today, unfortunately. So Maggie has a question for you. When you realize, go ahead.
When you're the host, you read it.
When you realized that you were more attracted to women, did you find it difficult to meet other women for dating?
No, not really. When I realized I was attracted to women, it happened all through my supposed heterosexual life. So I knew I was attracted to women. I found it difficult to be around women I was attracted to because I was a nervous wreck for no good reason. So it's like, how if you like men, there's, the cute guy, even if you're married and in a relationship, there's still a cute guy and you're probably attracted to him. So you kind of act stupid. I acted stupid. That's how I knew I was attracted to somebody, because I acted like an idiot. So, it's just a weird thing. The first relationship I was in with a woman, my coming out relationship, was a short, it was 5 years. That was a total accident. And I just kind of was a stupid idiot about it. My relationship with Mary, which is my second relationship and the one that stuck, it was just, I was falling out of the first relationship, and Mary and I were good friends at work. So, and things just kind of blossomed from there. So, I never went looking for girls. I never had a dating, quote unquote, history with women. So,
you didn't have a little black book?
I didn't have a little black book. No. If I would have come out sooner, maybe I would have had a little black book. That's the problem with coming out late in life. You don't have all that fun and stupidity beforehand.
Does your wife get involved with your reselling?
Yeah, my wife is a big part of the Etsy side of our reselling, and she organized and created and stocked our website, and she's more of the glassware, vintage type of things that aren't electronic anyway. So she does, crafting stuff. She loves fabrics, glassware. She loves like Fenton and all the different kinds of glassware. So that's her thing. But yeah, she's been doing it right along with me. When she was in her previous relationship, she had a antique store. So that's her thing.
So therefore, two hip chicks, Maggie. That's where they got the two names.
But yeah.
I don't understand this question. Do you want to read it? It's from Myra, and I don't understand it.
Has you come out when you signed up for MySpace? I don't understand either. Was I in MySpace? Do I have a MySpace page? I think I was out after MySpace. Before MySpace. Yeah.
I think I had a MySpace account at one time. But what's a little black book? Are you serious, Dee?
Maybe she is. That's the book you write down all your, opportunities for dating. We'll call it dating for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your book full of women or whatever. Little black book.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was that way too. I didn't really um it was hard because it's well, it wasn't hard. It's just like I don't know how to explain it to people. It's just the same way. You meet someone and you're comfortable with them and they're comfortable with you and you just know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that you want to date. I don't really know how to explain it any different than that. I didn't go out and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a woman."
Yeah.
I don't
Attention,
know.
all
Yeah.
females. Yeah, it just
Yeah,
no.
I don't know. It's just well, it's not the same way. I mean, I guess it could be. I guess you could go to bars and pick up
Yeah.
people and stuff like that, but I've never been into anything. All your romantic conquests, Maggie says. Yes.
She's trying to
Yes.
get
It's
me to
those
realize what
notches on the bed, but it's mainly so you can pull it out and say, "Look, who am I gonna call this weekend? Who
yeah.
am I gonna,"
Am I lonely tonight? Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Never needed that.
so I think we're out of questions. Is there anything else you want to say, Dawn, before we wrap it up? Anything that you meant to say and you forgot to say or want to add or?
Uh, um, no. Everybody's coming out story is different. Everybody's coming out experience is different. Um, and everybody's time to come out, because a lot of times especially when you first come out, but you'll notice it all along, is that you have opportunities to come out to people every day, because people assume that you are married to a man and live, whatever, and you have to say, well, my wife versus my husband. And you got to wait, hold your breath, and know how people are going to take that. So it's a continual process. It's not just like ta-da, and then the world is, everybody knows you. It's something you do every day if you're
Yeah,
dealing with
and I'm
people that
still
don't know
that
you.
way, Dawn. There are
Oh,
certain people still that I don't say my wife. I
mhm.
say, my partner. Um, it just depends on what the situation is, especially like at work with my clients.
Yeah,
I know which ones I can say that to and which ones I'm not yet comfortable to say
yeah.
that to. So, um,
Mhm.
I want to close this by thanking everyone again for being here. You can help this channel greatly by leaving it a thumbs up on this video, by making a comment below in this video, and that will show YouTube that the channel is active. And also, if you have an idea for a topic, again, if you want to leave it in the comments below, I've put my email address in the chat, comingoutLate@yahoo.com, and also Instagram is coming_out_late. So if you want to be interviewed, have a topic, I just want to see where this channel goes and, get together once in a while and talk
Yeah,
about these issues. Valerie says Beth has a husband that refurbishes TVs and needs remote controls. God.
yeah. It's a bed and
Do,
breakfast
do, you,
too.
do you know that story,
Yeah,
Dawn?
the
Yeah,
combination
you
of that
heard
and the
that
bed and
story?
breakfast. Yeah,
You heard that. Okay.
yeah. I heard that one.
So,
That's funny. Yeah,
yeah.
that's my
So,
brother's sister.
thank you again, Jenna, for being here. Jenna, Resell and Shipped has been kind of off the grid. I have missed you, Jenna. She is one of the sweetest people I know. She is a teacher. She lives in Vermont. Thinks she's trying to kind of get back into reselling.
Oh, cool.
And we have missed you in this community, dear. And please join me anytime on my reselling channel as well. So, all right. Well, we're going to close for now. Thank you, everyone. And everyone have a great night. As always, may God keep you in his pocket.
Bye, guys. Thanks.